tomorrow night, Jordan Poole's going to be here. And FP, I'll let you know, our audience knows, I've been hard on him. I have thought throughout a lot of the year that what was taking place was much larger than one high-profile, awful incident, which was clearly not his fault, but that there was something much more to it. And you could see clues about it. You mentioned Steph Curry throwing the mouthpiece, and then there's also just a basketball thing. I got to the point where I'm like, this doesn't feel like winning basketball to me. So I've been very, very hard on the guy, but even that said, yeah, like I'm not gonna boo the guy, but I also don't as a Warrior fan have the emotion inside me of go to the game tomorrow night and I can't wait to stand up and applaud the return of Jordan Poole. It's somewhere in between all of that.
I'm with you, and I was hard on him last year too.
Yeah,
like I said in the handoff that he was making me pull my hair out. And I've never been more frustrated with an athlete before. My mom went to the University of Michigan. I grew up maize and blue. So the fact that he went to Michigan and in 22 was just straight leading them to a championship and my favorite player. And then the next year he comes back and, it's well chronicled, didn't have a good year. It seemed like he was forcing it. And he seemed a little more selfish. Like he wanted to be the man all the time. And he was going to drive no matter if there was 10 guys in front of him and charging and the ball out of bounds and dribbling off his foot and just... He was just out of sorts all last year, and he regressed big time.
Yep.
So I was hard on him too on the radio, on air, because I was frustrated. And I think a lot of the people I talked to were frustrated too. A lot of family members, my son, we were just like, "What happened to Jordan Poole?" So I'm in between too. If I go to the game tomorrow night, I'm not going to give him a standing ovation, but I'm not going to boo him because the bottom line when you do this for a living is you want a ring, and it's the only reason I ever played. Never got one as a player. As a broadcaster, I have a few, but that's the only reason you play. So if a guy does that for my city, I'm not going to say it supersedes everything because there's another guy with 4 rings right now that's on my S list, and Draymond for the being selfish. The whole suspension thing and what he does and his agenda with referees and other players, that's selfish to me. Because if you're not out there for your teammates, you're just being selfish. And I think both of these guys, in some senses, are selfish. I thought Jordan Poole last year tried too hard to show he was the guy and force things that weren't there instead of the extra pass, and then maybe it comes back to you, and that's how that whole thing works. I don't know. I'm right with you. I was hard on him. I'm kind of ambivalent to tomorrow night, to be honest.
It's really kind of interesting. The more I've thought about it, I wonder if he ended up in a spot, if you will. And the behavior you're even talking about right there, to me, sort of feels like something that should have happened before the contract. That's what you usually see. You see a player who, it's like the arc, right? You get into the league, and then you show you got a little something, and then you show you can score 20, and then you show you can score 20 consistently. And if you're in your early 20s and on your rookie deal, that's the moment where you're like, let's be honest. We want a championship, and I want to play for this city. No, you want to get paid. You want to take care of your life. That's what everybody is after as a young player. And I always thought this was going to come to a head at some point. And so imagine for a moment, you're Jordan Poole, and you're looking at where you've been drafted and where you're playing. You know that contract time is coming up. An offer gets put in front of you for guaranteed money that will take care of the rest of your life. Obviously, you sign it. But in his heart of hearts, wouldn't it have been better if that offer had come from somewhere else? Jordan Poole wanted, as you said, to be the man. Every player wants to show that they can have a team. I can think of high-profile examples where this has happened in the past. James Harden in Oklahoma City. They were a very good team. They were on the cusp of a championship. But he didn't want to play behind Westbrook and Durant anymore, so he's going to the Rockets. Years before, Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady were teammates. Gosh, we could be special in Toronto. Free agent time comes up. Carter, gone. Tracy, gone. Going to Orlando. I need my team. That's how Jordan felt because, look, we're talking about Clay getting re-signed again. When was Jordan ever going to start? He was never going to start. He was going to have to turn 30 potentially before he starts. That's not ideal. And so I think that also got into his head terms of even after signing a contract, he wanted to show everybody who he thought he could be.
Or that he was worth the contract. And then you try to live up to the contract. Yeah. And I've seen guys that have more trouble dealing with success than failure. There's so much failure involved in professional sports, right? You know, in baseball, you fail 7 out of 10 times, you're in the Hall of Fame. In basketball, whatever your shooting percentage is, if it's 40-something% from threes, you're doing great. That means you're missing 60%. So there's failure involved. You get the big contract, you become successful, and it changes you, man. It's called being a human being. I had 1 2-year deal with the Dodgers, and all of a sudden I'm driving a Mercedes, and I'm staying in a nice house, and things that I'm not used to because always the salmon swimming upstream my whole career.
Yep.
And I was always, just fighting for every paycheck. And then I took a deep breath, 2 year, and I hit like 196, and it felt weird driving a Mercedes. It felt weird staying in a nice house. And all of a sudden I had trouble dealing with success. I saw teammates that, all of a sudden, they're just coming in the locker room hungover every day with all the designer clothes on and maybe doing things off the field they didn't do before, and let your mind wander with that one. And so we're used to failure as athletes. We don't like it. We fight it. We battle it to get to success. But then once we get to success, it's human nature. If 95.7 gave you a 10-year deal for all the money in the world tomorrow, would you prepare for your show as hard as you prepare for it right now? Or would you take a deep breath and say, there's more date nights, honey. We're going to these fancy restaurants, and maybe take a deep breath and say, I've arrived. I got a 10-year deal. I have security forever.
Well,
I'm good.
Our program director is standing right there. So the answer is yes. Yes. He doesn't even know what you asked.
It's human.
If you gave me a 10-year deal, would I prepare as hard the next day? Look at me. Yes.
You probably would.
I would.
You probably would. Not. No, but it's human nature to take a deep breath. It is.
Of course.
And it looked like to me he took the proverbial deep breath.
Well, and before he could even take a deep breath, right, he gets clocked in the face and the whole thing goes sideways. So you can't eliminate that from the whole thing, but I've long believed this. I'll never have it in ink. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not a warrior. I'm not behind the scenes. But I always have a hard time trying to say this without it sounding like I'm blaming a victim. I'm not. There's nothing that Draymond did last year in this situation that's okay. But I do think that was a product of something bigger. I don't think that Draymond would have done that no matter who was inbounding the ball that day. I think he only would have hit that guy. There's something going on with that whole relationship, Jordan and the rest of the guys, that was chirpy. It was under people's skin. It makes a personality like Steph Curry roll his eyes. It makes a personality like Clay go, take an extra boat trip. And it makes a personality like Draymond go, brother, I'm going to punch you in the face. And that's not okay, but there was something going on there, I feel.
Well, it had to be from last year. And the weird part about that is when you win a championship, man, that brings the families closer together. You're celebrating together. You're in a float. You're in a parade. You're pouring champagne on each other's head. It brings everybody involved in the organization together like family. When you win a championship together and you experience, it's unbelievable. I've been lucky and 10 to do it with the Giants in 2019 with the Nationals. It just brings everybody to another level. So the fact that happened, Mark, so early in the season means there was something from last year, or I don't know why it happened so early in the season, because usually in camp or spring training, everybody loves everybody.
Yeah.
It's like the first day of school. I can't wait to see you. It's been a while. Like, what'd you do? Like, we were partying. Remember last time we were together? We were effed up. That was awesome. And then here we go. Let's do it again. So the fact that it happened so early, because when you're on a bus, on a plane, in a locker room, wherever, every day for 7 months, man, we get on each other's nerves, man. Like we do.
Yeah.
And then if there's a fight during the season, whether it was Jeff Kent and Barry Bonds, whether, say, Draymond and Jordan halfway through the season did this, that's understandable to me because, dude, shut up. You're talking too much. You're chirping too much. You're out too late. We got to police ourselves. Not that the punch is ever acceptable, but it would have been understandable to me had it happened after 40 or 50 games. Okay, I get it. But right out of the gate, first day of school, basically?
And 2 weeks after they were in Asia and Klay Thompson's making what just felt like a snide remark but felt different after you watched this unfold, where he was like, yeah, I mean, Jordan could always use getting his hat in his hand a little bit. I don't remember the exact quote, but he was like, Jordan could use coming down a few notches. And he said it as a joke, and so everyone was like, they're boys or whatever. But that's what it felt like to me. I've long compared the Jordan Poole year to gosh, what's the movie with Kaiser Soze, Usual Suspects. This is an old movie now, but for those of you, do you ever see Usual Suspects?
I haven't.
Okay. It's one of these things where like the villain is right underneath everybody's nose the whole time and they don't know. And there's a scene at the end of the movie where the villain is basically using all of these visual posters that are in a room right behind the police officer to make up a story. And then, okay, they let him go and he walks out the room. And the police officer over time then looks around the room and starts to put the puzzle pieces together because he can see all the pictures behind him and realize he's been had. And it's like after the fact, you went, oh, this puzzle piece and this puzzle piece and this puzzle piece. So when you get to the end of the year and you go, remember what Clay said in Asia? Then Steph threw a mouthpiece. Then Draymond walked off the court in the middle of a play. And then Klay Thompson is hucking his hands up in the air and walking toward the bench. You put all of this together and I'm like, stop telling me that everything was normal.
It wasn't.
It can't be,
You
right?
could tell just by watching him play.
Right.
Taking all those great examples you just said, just watching him play. The one thing I think you and I are both leaving out of this is if I'm 22 years old and I win a world championship, and then in that offseason, after partying like a rock star, I'm on the best team in the NBA, we're a worldwide brand, wherever we go, we're the Beatles, I'm 22. And then you give me a big contract, and now I'm 23 with all those things. I don't know 22-year-old me could have handled that. 22-year-old me might have been Jordan Poole.
Oh.
22-year-old me might have needed to get humbled if I had all that going on.
33-year-old me might have been Jordan
50-something-year-old me might need to get punched.
Me might, yeah, absolutely. That's a completely fair point. And I also believe he may not have even been able to admit it. I bet he didn't want to be a Warrior anymore. Because think about that now.
Probably from the day he got smoked.
Yeah. Well, but even before that, because remember the contract gets signed before that. If I'm Jordan, I'm 22, I've got a ring, I've now got $125 million coming, guaranteed. Okay, what's left? I also just signed up to back up Stephen Clay for 6 years?
And there's a big bully on my team.
That's not what I probably want. I have to say that I do.
Yeah.
That's probably not the right spot for him. So I think all of that. So here's what Steve Kerr said to us yesterday when he asked what kind of emotions he's going to have with regard to tomorrow night.
Well, number one, I'm excited for him because I know our fans are going to give him an enormous ovation, and he deserves that. You know, he's a champion. We don't win that championship in 22 without Jordan. Played a huge role there. He's an unbelievable success story. You know, 28th pick in the draft. Played that first year that I referenced when we had the worst record in the league, and we really threw him into the deep end. He wasn't ready and took his lumps and then just went to work and put in so much great work and turned himself into the player that he's become. And our fans, they recognize all of that, and so do all of our players and coaches. So we're going to welcome Jordan back with open arms on Friday, and we're excited to see him.
I love the answer because it's so we know that every fan already feels this way, right, fans? Did everybody hear that? We know that you're going to go crazy for Jordan Poole, right, fans? I get why he's doing it. I'm not saying he doesn't feel that way. I don't think it's that simple. It's complicated.